Hi, I'm Bree Walker. I want to welcome you to this current edition of Beyond Limits, the video magazine for this ever-growing community of people with disabilities, more than 50 million of us. And that's not including our family, our friends, and those of you who like to support us. And we are getting bigger. I've been a member of this community since I was born, and so have my children, Andrea and Aaron. We share the same hand and foot deformity called ectrodactyly. It's pretty exotic, huh? Well, I have been very lucky. I've been able to be very successful as a radio and television performer for a very long time. I've done news, I've done rock and roll radio, you name it. I've had a chance at it. Yet I've also experienced the subtle and sometimes not so subtle discrimination that comes from a lot of the so-called non-disabled people out there. But their time's coming. You just wait. We're about to hit the age of the baby boomer meets disability. It's going to be a huge phenomenon. A lot of ink has been spent on the topic of baby boomers and their impact on society. I mean, you start out with coonskin caps back in the 50s, and then you move on through every little bump in the baby boomer society and the impact that we've had and all of our dollars thrown at all of the things we buy and all of the ways we stay young through our various periods of denial. And, you know, our impact is just huge. Well, now we're about to become more disabled, and yet with our denial about it, we're going to spend tons of money on fixing our disabilities. In fact, I found an interesting angle on this prospect in an article by Frank Bowe on the Ragged Edge online. With a few statistics from the Centers for Disease Control, Frank Bowe makes a pretty good case. He predicts the disability community is about to become a lot more central in American life. Thus, no one will be able to ignore it any longer. It's simple math. As an example, about 31 million people report some level of trouble with their hearing. Because hearing loss is most frequent among older people, and because the boomer generation is becoming older, the number set of people with some level of trouble with hearing is on the verge of exploding. The same thing is occurring with respect to vision impairments. Today, 19 million Americans of all ages report trouble with their sight. That's 9% of the population. Among those aged 65 to 74, though, the proportion jumps to 15%. Of those 75 years of age or older, 21% have vision loss. By 2020, you'll see 40% more in each age range having impairments of vision and/or hearing. Then there's mobility. As the old saying goes, the legs are first to go. Our little community, 54 million strong, has always been struggling to be heard. But now, by joining forces with the baby boom generation, perhaps this last civil rights movement, the disability movement, will have its moment in the sun. It's time. If we get behind the whole idea that the disability movement really is the baby boom movement as it approaches the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, then we have a real movement we can stand behind. In that spirit, I hope you'll join us for our new issue of Beyond Limits. Just click to your left to see all the rest of the stories in our new issue.